If the person kind of understands the situation that eventually this eviction is most likely going to go through, those people are open to the idea of cash for keys, and then we can start a dialogue on what the terms of that will actually be.
The Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry, with your host, Adam Friedman.
Today, we're talking about post-foreclosure and eviction settlements, specifically with an emphasis on New York. And I'm joined today by Friedman Vartolo associate Rick Tracy. Evictions tend to take longer in New York, and settlements become most beneficial. Is that fair to say, Rick?
Especially in New York, because of the timelines, a settlement could save us 6 months or even a year or more.
What are the types of settlements we're using? When we say settlements, what do we mean?
So when we settle, our objective is to get the consent judgment, in other words, the judgment of possession. And usually, most often, that's what we call cash for keys, where somebody is saying, okay, I get it, I'm going to have to move out, but we're going to negotiate for a payment to help pay for my relocation and to pay me for the fact that I'm letting you accelerate this by, 3-6 months or so. However, sometimes we also do consent judgments that carve out time for the occupants to purchase back. Like if it's the foreclosed former owner and they want to try to buy it back, we sometimes also carve out some time for them to attempt that. And if it doesn't work out, then we have the consent judgment to evict.
How aggressive are you with these? Like when you get an eviction referral, are you reaching out right away to settle, or what's the process?
Yeah, oftentimes our clients want us to go right away and to start negotiating a cash for keys. So we'll try that. Usually people are most receptive once the court process actually starts and we're going into court and now this thing is kind of real in their eyes and we have a chance to talk to them face to face in court is when we most often actually achieve our settlements.
Outside of seeing them in court, what's a factor that impacts your belief that a settlement will be successful?
Yeah, the patterns that I normally see are if I run into a former owner that is very diligently and truly does believe that, for instance, they don't think that the foreclosure was legitimate and they want to try to overturn the foreclosure, I know that almost never will they accept a cash for keys and they will just have to file their motion, fail, and then we'll just fight it out to the end. But if the person kind of understands the situation that, okay, a foreclosure went through and eventually this eviction is most likely going to go through, those people are open to the idea of cash for keys, and then we can start a dialogue on what the terms of that will actually be.
If they have an attorney, does that make it more or less likely that they're looking to settle?
I think it depends on the personality of the person. Sometimes, yes, having their own attorney, and that attorney is, I'm guessing, telling them, hey, they, the bank and the owner, have this easy case to prove, and getting some money along the way is actually your best way to leave this situation, to leave with some money in pocket, to pay for moving expenses. I think in those situations, yeah, it is effective when they have opposing counsel, yeah.
When you're doing a cash for keys settlement, are you still completing the eviction, or is it really you sign a cash for keys agreement, you give them cash, you take the keys, and the case is over?
For our clients, we have certain objectives. And so based on those objectives, we have a certain mechanism that has timing built into it. So they will do a consent judgment that says we have the right to evict, but also we set it up so that the real estate agent, our real estate agent, will go out and make sure, yes, they did actually move out on time. And if they did so, then we have the money to present them. Because if we paid them before they moved out, we don't have any leverage. So it's really critical to us that we will have the payment, but it only comes after they move out.
If the occupants leave and we could take possession, why do we want a judgment?
So we get the judgment just to ensure for our sake that if somebody changes their mind, they don't actually leave, that we have this built in that, okay, we've already agreed that there is a move out that's going to happen because, we need that locked in and our assurance so that we're okay with sort of ending this eviction case, that we have this built in as a worst case scenario for us. We still have the eviction.
So Rick, what percentage of our cases would you say settle prior to a lockout?
So we run the numbers and about a third of our cases settle, which I think is a very good number because that means that we're saving time on all of those cases where we got the agreement. We no longer need a trial or these other ongoing appearances as well.
Thanks for joining Rick Tracy and I on the Weekly Friedman, your source of the most essential information in the default industry. Thanks for tuning in and looking forward to seeing you next time.